Rocket Pool Ask Me Anything, hosted by EthStaker. We're very excited about the ramp up for the launch of Rocket Pool. And we've pulled together the Rocket Pool team, some of the Rocket Pool community, and EthStaker for about an hour or an hour and a half of Ask Me Anything. So we have a lot of questions ready, and we're really excited to kind of pick Rocket Pool's brain to figure out how this is going to work. We joked earlier that 80% of the viewers probably already know all of the answers to these questions, but it's still great to get them out. To begin with introductions, I want to say a real quick shout out to the EthStaker team. They're always with us, but we've introduced the EthStakers 100 times. So if you've seen any of our stuff, you know who we are. But from EthStaker tonight, we have Nolan, Colfax, Grey Wizard, Unvetica, and Patricio. Thanks for dropping in, Patricio. And I'm not going to give you a long intro, but we are excited to hear from Dave about the Rocket Pool team.
Yeah, firstly, a huge thanks for anyone tuning in, and also a massive thanks to the EthStaker community for organizing this. Serious props for that. We do love coming on and having a chat. So I'll just introduce myself. I am David, the founder of Rocket Pool. So I started Rocket Pool over 4 years ago now, which is an eternity in the crypto world. We have Darren Langley, Langers, as he's more affectionately known, is our general manager. He's on here as well. We have Kane, our senior smart contract engineer. You've probably seen him getting around the Discords on a fairly regular basis. We also have Joe, which everyone knows from quite well in the community. So he's our blockchain engineer / smart node developer. And we also have Nick, who's our full stack developer. So basically handles all the website stuff for us now. Yeah, it's good to have the whole team on here. Thank you for inviting us.
Great. Yeah, we're excited to do this. And from the community, we have both Ken and Boodle. So welcome, Ken and Boodle. They are two of the most knowledgeable, and hey, you know, they kind of fit the EthStaker ethos of being knowledgeable or welcoming first and knowledgeable second. But we're glad to have them with us tonight. They're going to help us with the AMA and maybe ask a bunch of these questions. So why are we here? That's the most important thing. I want to do a quick run through the agenda and then kind of get into things. We're going to begin with introductions. We're doing that now. I'm going to talk a little bit about, hopefully not too long, maybe 3 minutes, about why EthStaker has an investment in Rocket Pool. And that is a time investment in Rocket Pool, and like a philosophical, I'm not, whatever that word is, investment in Rocket Pool. And then we're going to hop into the AMA questions, where we're essentially going to read questions and receive answers until we run out of time. Somewhere near the end of this call, it's probably about 90 minutes, we're going to take a break and dish out a POAP. So if you're only here for the POAP, you can go grab coffee and come back in a little bit. And that will be our night. So what I'm really excited about is, you know, I've talked a lot for the past, it's actually a couple years now, about why, as you know, I call myself the Beacon Chain Health Coordinator, why I'm comfortable supporting and promoting Rocket Pool. And when the Beacon Chain launched, a bunch of pools came up that were custodial pools. They would accept your Ether and stake it on your behalf and promise you that when the merge happens, you'll get those coins back. And that was the best model at the time. It's still essentially the best model today. If you don't go with a pool, you can work with a centralized exchange, and you can ask them to stake on your behalf. And in a very centralized way, they will run servers that run validators on the network. So they hold custody of your coins. They run them in a centralized way. And you really don't have much say about how that works. So Rocket Pool is a different solution. And the reasons that I support Rocket Pool are they are trustless because they are fully smart contract based. They're open source. All of their code is available on GitHub. Trustless, open source, and what's the third one I always say? Somebody give me a hint.
Decentralized.
And they're decentralized. Sorry, they're not.
Permissionless.
I should know this. I say it like 80 times a day. I'm on stage. They aren't running your keys in one central location. Rather, those keys are distributed across node operators all over the world. Those three features are the reason that EthStaker is comfortable and excited to pair with Rocket Pool. And so moving forward, when you say, you know, hey, what do you guys suggest as a safe and healthy way to stake funds on the Beacon chain? I'm going to be very happy and proud to say Rocket Pool. The only caveat to that being, launch is October 6th. We're really excited about launch. That's in about a week. There is always the risk of difficulty with launch or a smart contract vulnerability that's exploited. And so I do encourage people to wait. Waiting is a healthy choice in this case, but that doesn't mean that there's a problem with Rocket Pool. It means that every holder should take responsibility for their own funds and wait until it has some uptime on the mainnet to show that it's healthy. So that was my ramble. I don't want to take the whole night, but I do feel like it's important to set the stage for why EthStaker is comfortable pairing with Rocket Pool when there are so many other products that I have had to say, I can't really vouch for it. I'm not really comfortable with it. I am comfortable with Rocket Pool. I do feel like it's a great solution. So that's where we are. Does anyone have anything to add to that? Did I ramble well enough? Okay, great. With that, we are here for the Ask Me Anything. We're a week out from launch, and there are a lot of questions that have been submitted by the community. We are going to essentially read through those questions and give the Rocket Pool team a chance to answer so you can learn more about them and more about how the protocol works. So Ken, would you like to take it from here?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. So we did receive a number of questions from the community. Thank you all very much for those that had submitted questions. We took them, we did just some very minor edits, spelling and inserting a grammatic word here and there, and then posted it the last day here onto a site called Straw Poll and tried to prioritize the questions. We did group them thematically into a couple of themes. The first set of questions are just going to be some introductory questions to get to know the team a little bit. Then we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about the past, but we're really going to try to reserve most of the question times for the present, including launch day that we're also very excited to look forward to here. And then surprisingly, there were a lot of questions about the future for Rocket Pool and what happens after launch. So we want to reserve our time for the present and the future questions, and then a few questions at the wrap up there. And so we are going to ask them in the order that they were ranked for each of the themes. That's pretty much how we got to the questions. So I think we're ready for the first question if everybody here on the call is. The first questions have to deal with team introductions. And for these, just so we get to know the folks, maybe I'll direct the questions to one of the team members and they could respond for it. All the other ones, though, I think you guys can all chime in and respond to the more technical questions. But to the first question, David, maybe I'll ask this one of you. What do you prioritize or value when you think of cryptocurrency?
Well, non-surprisingly, decentralization. It's probably my main kind of pinnacle with cryptocurrency in general. Yeah, obviously being financially, like DeFi, being financially independent outside of institutions, I think is hugely valuable. That's personally probably one of my bigger aspects of getting involved in crypto originally. I got involved in crypto around about 2013, so fairly early on. So yeah, that was a big draw card for me. Obviously at the time was being able to mine, like doing some early Bitcoin and Dogecoin mining. That was just the technological aspect of it at the time, and being able to secure a blockchain, get paid in the native currency for that blockchain, for providing service without any middlemen. That blew my mind when I first did it. And then obviously Ethereum came out, and now you have smart contracts, immutable code, things like that. That's been pretty much my main driver, is just all these new technological aspects that the blockchain provides. So yeah, well, that's just me personally anyway.
Do you still hold Doge?
No, I think I sold that in about 2015. Which,
I had to know.
Yeah, probably should have held it. Yeah, what?
I just had to know, like.
Yeah. No, I did mine it back in the day. Yeah, that's going a ways back now. Yeah.
All right. Well,
I think actually, sorry, I'll just add to that though. Like the first article I ever posted about Rocket Pool has a picture of the original Dogecoin mining rig in it. If anyone wants to do any digging, it's on Medium. It'll be the first post under our Rocket Pool account, I think.
Oh, excellent. We're gonna have to go check that out there. The next
Actually,
question.
Sorry, so I was going to add a little bit to that as well. That Rocket Pool is a great example of like a value network, and I think what gets us excited as well is creating these value networks where the participants of the network kind of interact. That creates value, and then it benefits all participants. So I think the kind of future of DAOs to overtake corporations as like the primary method of how stuff gets done is also very exciting. So that's what I kind of think about crypto as well, is the creation of these kind of value networks that benefit all participants and that sort of thing.
Well, Darren, I'm glad you raised that thing, because maybe the next question I should really direct towards you, which is what do you think Rocket Pool specifically contributes to the Ethereum ethos?
Yeah, so I mean, specifically permissionlessness. At the moment, node operation, pool node operation is very permissioned. And what Rocket Pool adds to that is a permissionless list from the node operator side of things. Decentralization, definitely. But then decentralization goes into lots of different things. So it goes into, upholding security of the network, fault tolerance, and all of that sort of stuff that is really important to the health of the Ethereum network. But also participation and access. So Rocket Pool we kind of lower the bar slightly to enable more people to be able to participate in the Ethereum security, but in a healthy way.
Excellent. For the next question, maybe Joe, because we actually met over Discord, I kind of like to direct this one to you. What is your favorite Discord memory?
That's not fair. That is not a fair question, and you know it. There are dozens, maybe hundreds of memories. I'll give you a couple because I can't really decide, and I'll try to do this quickly. The first memory that I think I have that's probably one of my favorites is back in February, there was a whale who went by the alias of 0xCC. And I'm sure some of you guys remember this. 0xCC was single-handedly responsible for kind of keeping the price of RPL as low as possible just by shoving tons and tons of it on the market anytime we tried to do anything special. And there was a day, I think it was February 8th, I don't remember exactly, but he finally ran out in a bang of glory, selling over 100,000 of the token or something. And the trading chat, which is one of the best parts of our community, by the way, went absolutely ballistic and celebrated probably for 36 hours straight. And I was part of that celebration. This is before I was a team member. This is back when I was just a humble person hanging out in the community. And the celebrations and the aftermath therein and all the theory crafting that went in with what happens next and stuff like that, I will never forget, is really one of the things that brought me into this. Is the downfall of 0xCC is one. If I had to pick a single one, that's probably going to be the one that I go with. But I mean, there's another good one, which is knowing when we were going to launch Mainnet and not being able to tell anybody and just watching the wild speculation going down in that channel was a lot of fun, for sure. And people are going to hate me for saying this, but being on the other side of the fence and having the secret info and that kind of stuff now, and seeing all of the rampant guesses and the stuff like that was a good time too. I definitely enjoyed that. And then actually when the entire team went into that channel and we all flushed breaded at the same time and just kind of announced it in unison was outstanding.
They're not giving you any money, are they? They're just giving you information. That's what they're paying you, isn't it?
I plead the fifth.
Yeah, Joe. There are just too many good times.
There's too many, man. But those are a couple of good ones.
Yeah, it was not a fair question. Maybe for the next question, I'll direct it towards Nick. We were chatting just a little bit before the call, and Nick, why is Rocket Pool the right choice for you, both professionally and personally?
So professionally, I just really believe in the technology, and personally, I've been a big fan of Dave for a long time. We're friends, and I really believe in his technical skills and the Rocket Pool project as a whole. I remember hearing about it back in the day when Dave and I were working together, and him trying to explain it to me and me being all like, I don't understand what you're talking about. And then, you know, after a month, I'm like, I get it now. Yeah, so I've been a fan of the project since, and yeah, and now I'm very humbled to be on the team.
Yeah, I should add too, when we were talking about that, that was about mid 2016. So that was quite a while ago before any of this stuff was well known. So yeah, I don't fault anyone for not really getting it back then. So yeah, I mean, I used to talk about it with Nick. Yeah, when we worked together previously for many, many years across several companies that got bought out, then another one got bought out, then another one got bought out. So we merged through a whole bunch of companies working as senior devs together. And yeah, and then I just started rambling on about this Ethereum thing one day. Everyone already knew me as the Bitcoin guy in the office anyway before that, because that was, you know, anyone give me half a chance and I'll start rattling off about blockchain technology. And I was that guy in the office at the time. I'm sure every office has one of them now, but yeah, it was very, very new back then. So yeah, I was used to ramble on about to Nick and anyone that would listen. So yeah, the whole concept of decentralized staking back then was just completely foreign concept. So yeah, I'm definitely not going to fault anyone for not picking up on it.
Excellent. And then last but no ways least, Kane, do you have a favorite crypto personality? And what is it that you admire or like about them?
Yeah, so I'll have to go with the really cliche answer and say it's Vitalik for sure. Just his foresight and his immense knowledge. He's, you know, obviously essentially a rock star in this space. Anytime he posts a message or, you know, posts on the Eth research, it's just everyone sort of stops and listens to what he has to say, because he's just so insightful and forward looking. And obviously, you know, he's been a huge influence on the entire cryptocurrency industry. So I have to go the most cliche answer and say him. There's no one really else who's in the same league as him, in my opinion.
No, I agree with you 100%. That would have been my exact same answer. So for it. Well, thank you very much for letting us kind of get to know you a little bit in these introductory questions. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Boodle here.
Yeah, thank you. My dog is over here, so if she starts barking, forgive me. But my name is Ben Boodle on Discord, and I'm gonna proceed with a few questions about the past. And these are probably gonna be most relevant towards Dave and maybe Langer too. But others should feel free to interject and speak up as well. So the first one is kind of just about the history of development. Is there something you wish you did differently in the Rocket Pool development history?
That's a tough one. It's been quite a few years now. We did one little fact that might a lot of people might not be aware of, is that the original version of Rocket Pool was designed for smart contract staking. So back then it was a totally different thing. We didn't have this fancy thing with the beacon chain. It was all staking was done through a smart contract called Casper. And that was, so it was a different beast back then. So, but that's going back a few years. Obviously, maybe anticipating the change to the beacon chain from that one a bit earlier would have been good, because it really did catch us by surprise. And we had none of the Ethereum Foundation had really let us know prior to, you know, the announcement of the beacon chain what was going on. And we actually launched our first beta for the first version of Rocket Pool, which was smart contract staking. I think the same week that they announced the pivot to the beacon chain. So we went ahead with beta anyway. I think we were the only group to ever use the original version of Ethereum staking through a smart contract, because we had that contract, well, we had the beta version of it because obviously it hadn't been finished. And yeah, we ran that on our own testnet for people to stake with. So that change required a lot of kind of reworking. And luckily, a lot of the core concepts for Rockpool carried over really well. So you have your decentralized node operators, you have your stakers. The way those two kind of mesh together in protocol, that didn't really change too much. But from a technical point of view, we then had to rely on relaying data from one chain, the Ethereum 2 chain, Beacon chain, back to Ethereum 1 chain, where our smart contracts are. And obviously this wasn't a problem earlier because everything was in smart contract land. Our smart contracts could talk to the staking smart contract Casper. So that didn't rely on any kind of data being relayed back. So that was technically a big change, and having a bit more time to get ahead of that would have been good. But yeah, it is what it is, and that was years ago now, and we're still here. So yeah, in hindsight, that would have been good, but we're still trucked along.
Yeah, it's been a long, winding road. I am just kind of a newcomer to this space, so I jumped in just over a year ago. The second question is kind of a follow-on to that, and Dave, like I said, you might get kind of a lot of questions in this past section, but others might be able to speak to this as well, because we've had a few bumps in the road in the last few months, kind of leading up to mainnet launch too. And this question has to do with just staying motivated and persevering. So how did you stay motivated during the turbulent times between the rocket pool beginning back in 2016 and today?
Yeah, I'm very stubborn in some facts. I don't get I don't get like deterred easily, and I really relish building things, like creating, just building and things like that. So even though we did have our setbacks like the one I was just discussing then, I generally don't get deterred very easily. So that's kind of a combination of being stubborn and just loving developing stuff. So I think that got me through a lot of the previous years of developing Rocket Pool, because we've had so many different chops and changes along the way, just to accommodate building a decentralized staking protocol for for Ethereum too, which is also being developed at the same time. So you're kind of you're doing bleeding edge development, and you always kind of have to pivot and roll with different changes. So we actually got fairly used to that. Maybe that was probably part of the aspect that we're still going strong, is we have experience with dealing with sudden changes for the Ethereum 2 spec and whatnot. But yeah, probably, yeah, I'd say, yeah, just probably my stubbornness, and yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm super stubborn, but I relish the opportunity to develop things. And anyone that knows me previously knows I always come up with new projects and ideas, and I'll spend time working on them. And then as soon as I've developed that product, I'll just focus on it insanely and try to get it to kind of succeed. So yeah, I've been doing this for a long time now, but Rocket Pool is probably obviously the biggest one of those to date, and we are still going strong. So yeah, also having a really amazing team definitely helps. Those guys supported greatly my crazy ideas at times and comments and whatnot. So yeah, having solid feedback from a really supportive team is obviously a huge benefit, and yeah, the reason why we're still here.
Yeah, I might just kind of redirect this question at Joe, and maybe others as well. We experienced a bit of turbulence this spring or summer. It feels like years ago now with the 0x02 withdrawal credential. Maybe you could speak on how you kind of persisted through that. And I mean, you were scrambling, balancing, juggling everything at that time. I was very impressed. So yeah, what do you think?
You want me to answer that?
Yeah.
Sure. What happened was, real quick for people who aren't familiar with OX02, we were paying attention to this thing that came out in the spring called the quick merge, which was an alternative way of doing the merge that allowed people or allowed the core developers to get it done very quickly. And it essentially meant keeping the ETH1 clients like Geth around and having them communicate directly with the beacon clients, so that Geth essentially becomes the execution layer of actually keeping tabs on the transactions, and the beacon client is responsible for consensus, making sure whether or not something is valid and accurate as opposed to proof of work. When we were watching the test nets for that quick merge go by, one of them, the final one, was called Nocturne. And we noticed a problem. I think this was actually brought up in the community, in the Discord, in one of our channels. I think this was the governance channel way back when. We noticed a problem, which is that all of the beacon chain rewards for doing attestations and proposals stay on the beacon chain, but the priority fees, which are given to people for doing transactions, that's what we call like gas fees or mining fees right now, those stay on ETH1, which means they no longer go to the ETH2 deposit address or the validator's address, which means we no longer control them as Rocket Pool. They no longer go to our mini pool, which presented kind of an interesting challenge for us, because what it meant was there was a way for essentially mini pool operators, node operators, to get some of this without having to share it. So OXO2 was our proposal for a way around that, which required essentially anytime you get those priority fees for doing transactions, you send them to the ETH1 withdrawal address to your mini pool, essentially. That way we can split them. Rocket Pool works as expected with all fees, and life goes on. And then the problem that the core developers returned to us when we originally offered this was this doesn't do anything to solve MEV, right? Maximal extracted value. Essentially, what you're proposing is it's going to encourage side channeling. So people will find a way to work around it, and they'll capture it anyway. And there's nothing you can do about that. Basically, this can't be enforced at the protocol level right now. So that was tough. When we presented this, we thought we had a really good plan, a really good argument for it. And kind of the feedback we got being like, this only partially solves the problem, doesn't fully solve it. That was tough. But the way we solved it, again, I'm going to take a page right out of Dave's book, is you don't give up. You just, you work the problem and you find an alternative, something that solves it in a different way, something that is mutually compatible with everybody. So essentially, Langers and I sat down for like 2 or 3 weeks at the whiteboard, and we just jammed on this. And we said, okay, let's fully define the problem. Let's figure out what the options are. Let's try and combine a couple ideas. And what came out of that 3 week sort of jam session was the repository we have now, called the research repository. And that's where we have our ideas for how to solve this moving forward, our incentivization mechanics, our security mechanics, and all of that kind of stuff. We open sourced that, we gave it to the community to riff on, and they have been awesome at helping us kind of understand this problem further and find better insights into ways to fix it and things like that. So we turned this tough time, and we actually turned it into an opportunity, basically just by taking these ideas and giving them to the community and have everybody riff on it in general. So that's, I think we are stronger for doing that. I'm pretty happy with the solution so far, and we'll see what happens, you know, as the merge comes closer. Maybe they'll throw another curveball at us, but right now I'm pretty happy where we stand.
Yeah, I completely agree. Thank you for that answer. I think that the research channel is great, and there's a lot of prominent community members really contributing a lot in there. So thanks to all of them as well. The next question is actually explicitly directed at Dave. Were there any moments that you thought the future of Rocket Pool might be unsure? And this is similar to past questions, but I might just add whether you thought that, I mean, possibly the idea that you had was just impossible to execute, or that it wasn't going to work for some reason. Were there any moments that you were really doubting yourself?
Yeah, there was probably a couple. I wouldn't say, you know, no one goes into a project like this and it's going to work straight off the bat. You know, you're not going to encounter any issues or anything like that. But yeah, probably that one, like you said earlier, that one I mentioned, pivoting from the smart contract approach to staking through a smart contract. So back then you would attest to a smart contract. It's not like the beacon chain now where you attest on a separate network. It was all done through a smart contract. That was when they dropped that bombshell that they were dropping that and pivoting to a whole new way of doing, when we'd spent like 1.5 years getting Rocket Pool ready for that version of staking. And then we had to basically just sit down, break everything down and just, kind of analyze how we can still, develop Rocket Pool for this new beacon chain method. And as I said, like the core concepts carried over really well. We just had to adjust a few certain things, but that was definitely a moment where I was questioning of where, if we could still make this decentralized and trustless based on that change. And probably the biggest follow-up to that was you couldn't submit a deposit to the beacon chain that could be withdrawable to a smart contract. This was like that for ages. So we were basically just going along the concept of, this is a really good idea to have a withdrawal from the beacon chain, that can go to a smart contract, not, an aggregate BLS signature, which it currently is. It was launched with. So this was an addition to the Ethereum 2 spec that hadn't even made it into the spec until I think it was about February this year. So a lot of people were going like, why isn't Rocket Pool launching? Why isn't Rocket Pool launching? And we had to basically reiterate that in order to kind of see the vision through, that we needed smart contract withdrawals to be enabled in the Ethereum 2 specifications. So we could build it to that. It didn't have to be live. It just had to be in the specifications. So we hassled DF a bit just to kind of ask them politely, when this possibility would be, could make it in the spec, because it would be hugely beneficial to a lot of different parties, to have trustless withdrawals. You can come up with all kinds of combinations, withdrawals, where, certain portions go to certain people based on certain conditions. They just enabled such more functionality and trustlessness to Ethereum 2 staking. So that didn't make it in the spec till February this year. So that was we were building Rocket Pool with the concept of that this would come in at some point. If it didn't come in, we would have had to take the custodial route, which I'd already been speaking to a few custodians, where we're kind of picturing the idea of using various custodians in various countries to kind of keep that decentralized ethos in play. But luckily, the EF did see the light and added the ability for a smart contract to receive withdrawal, which was a huge relief to all of us, myself especially, because that was the pivotal moment where we needed Rocket Pool to be trustless and decentralized. And we were copying a lot of, data that was like, staking's live now, why isn't Rocket Pool launching? So we just had to politely explain, in order for Rocket Pool to be what we want it to be, we have to wait for this to be in the spec. And then it made it in the spec. Then we had to have it audited, which took, many more months after that to kind of get that locked in place. So if anything, our community is patient. I'm super thankful for that, because it's been a road where we've had a few hiccups here and there. And that was probably one of the ones where we were flying blind until it came in the spec and Rocket Pool could be what we wanted it to be, essentially. So yeah, those two main ones would be the main ones in my mind, where I was kind of fingers crossed this better work. Yeah.
And I kind of want to thank you on behalf of the whole community for being patient and persistent with OX01, because the only reason that I'm really comfortable promoting Rocket Pool is because it holds these high values, and if you had felt the need to compromise those values, we would still be searching for a solution to our problem. And it's great that you guys held out and made it work.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we were under a lot of pressure to kind of get something off the table. But yeah, we were stubborn yet again and wanted to stick to our original kind of vision. And I'm really glad we did.
Ken, let me just say real quick, that is absolutely another one of my favorite Discord moments, is when they finally merged that. We were watching the R&D Discord and like 20 of us were on GitHub just spamming F5 waiting for that merge to go through. And then when it finally did, massive celebration.
Yeah, that was iconic. Okay, I'll turn it back over to Ken. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, so I'm very excited. I get to ask the questions about the present, including launch, and this to me is really the exciting moment that we're in or just about ready to enter. So let me just start asking these in the order that the community voted them in priority, and you guys can decide who to respond best to the questions. What criteria will the team use to advance between the stages?
I can probably take that one. So the stages are a risk mitigation strategy. So there's in terms of kind of functional risk, we're not too concerned about that. We've tested this thing a lot, so functional risk is quite low, but there is a threat of some sort of external attack. So we obviously we've done everything we can to make sure everything's as secure as possible, but we take security extremely seriously. So the stages aim to kind of contain the effect of any attack. So essentially, time is the main criteria. Although stage 1 will probably last a few hours, so it will probably be in the hours sort of range. Stage 2 will probably be something like a week, and stage 3 will be about a week as well. That gives us enough time to make sure everything is working as it should do, and that we give enough time to kind of just make sure everything is secure. We've put a lot of telemetry in place in terms of the statistics for the actual network itself. So we'll be monitoring those and making sure that they're where they should be and all of that sort of thing as well.
Okay. And just a follow up to that question in terms of the time, is that the time between the stages, or is that how long you think it will take stage 1 to last from start to finish to get the 10 validators in stage 1?
It'll be how long the stages will be open for. So stage 1 will open on the launch time, essentially, and then it will last a few hours. So it will be open for a few hours, and then stage 2 will open, and then stage 3, that sort of thing. So it'll basically be a few hours for stage 1 to 2, a week from 2 to 3, and then probably a week from 3 to 4. So from 4, we will be unlimited in terms of node operators, so they can come in from there.
Okay. Next question, Ed. Is launch and the smart contracts being loaded, are those one and the same thing, or is there some time difference between those two occurrences? Help educate me on that.
I can answer that one. So no, the contracts will be launched ahead of time, and we will actually register our own 3 trusted nodes, and we'll also do a few tests, make sure everything's working. And launch is actually we essentially flip a switch in the contracts to enable deposits. So no, they are 2 separate things that will happen a couple of days apart.
Okay, and maybe it's even a good question for the next question here, which is, can you help categorize, and I don't know if folks online can see this list of questions, what things can a node operator do now in this pre-stage? What can we do once the contracts are loaded? And what do we have to wait for one of the stages to actually be open? So what can we do at each point?
Yep, so right now you can sync your S1 and S2 client, and you can also initialize your wallet. Once the contracts launch and we release a version of the smart node that has those addresses in there, then you'll be able to, once we do that and we open node registrations, then you'll be able to register a node, and you'll be able to swap RPL from the old RPL contract to the new one. And then once we open up deposits, you'll be able to, a few people, 10 mini pools will be able to be created at that time.
Okay, and what about on the RE side of it? If we're in stage 1 and there's 10 mini pools, will people still be able to regular stake and get RE?
So we'll open up both node deposits, those 10 mini pools, and also RETH deposits up to the first limit, which I think is 160 ETH. So that amount will be able to be deposited and converted into RETH.
Okay, excellent. Okay, are there any centralized exchanges interested in offering staking through Rocket Pool?
Probably are. I'll answer that one personally. But I mean, I can't give you any definite names, but we've got a lot of interest from staking as service providers, a whole gamut of different industry that can kind of utilize Rocket Pool to stake, because like I said, it is permissionless, so it can be used by anyone. But Yeah, I won't give you any names.
Okay, fair enough. This question, the next question here was actually one of the top questions for quite a while until I think some more of the node operators started voting. Everyone is just very much impressed with the list of ODAO members. I mean, it's basically a who's who in EthStaking. But the question that everybody wants to know is, what is the RPL bond for an ODAO member?
I'll fill that one too. So the RPL bond will be launching with, we're going to keep it at a fairly conservative 50 grand US for the original members that are going to be joining. Reason for that is because we're interested way more in quality of the members than how much capital they can throw at something like this. So you'll find a lot of other Oracle, a lot of other DAOs are usually made up of, like capital partners and things like that. The real big guys that can throw a lot of funds at stuff, they might not necessarily have the vested interests of the network at heart, but they have a lot of capital. And, they see a huge bond as being, kind of like a rite of passage to belong. Whereas we're more interested in the quality of the members and helping fund their projects. So part of the inflation is given to these Oracle DAO members that's generated by the Rocketpool protocol as it goes along. So this is basically used to fund their project. So that's part of the reason why we wanted to get some of the bigger, like client teams on board. So make sure that these guys can receive funding through the success of Rocketpool, which is decentralized staking, which is using their clients. So it's kind of like a positive feedback loop for the client teams that are involved with Rocketpool. And that was one of the key things that we tried to reiterate from the very start is we're not interested in the size of your wallet, size of your checkbook. We're interested in you as a member and helping fund your projects, which enable staking to even exist. So, and that's the kind of mindset we're going to have with going forward with future Oracle DAO members, is to kind of get these people involved that are making staking happening, that provide all these services for staking. And that way we can kind of create a positive feedback loop where the success of a decentralized staking protocol kind of comes back to helping out the projects which are making staking even possible. So, the bond amount might change at a later date, but for now, it's quality over the size of your checkbook.
Excellent, thank you. Another question here regarding kind of the ordering of operations for node operators is, as a node operator, when should I start depositing my ETH and my RPL?
Darren? Joe?
Joe's probably good at
I can take that, sure.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of ways of doing it. Here's my recommended order of operations. Once you can, number one is register your node. Make sure that works properly. Number two is set your withdrawal address. I personally think you really should do that first and make sure that it actually worked. So the CLI has a function in there for doing a test transaction. You send like a trivial amount of Ether or whatever, you can specify it to your withdrawal address to make sure you have the right one. And you have to go to the website to double confirm that you have the right one. Do that next. And once your withdrawal address is set up, then throw some ETH and RPL. Probably start with RPL, do a stake as quickly as possible so that if your node wallet does get compromised and somebody tries to unstake it, it all goes to the withdrawal address. And so you're safe there. So do that. And then once your RPL is staked, then throw some ETH at it and make a mini pool. But just keep in mind the stage 1 through 3 caps. And I suspect they're going to go fairly quickly. Like stage 1 is 10 mini pools. And I would be surprised if that lasts longer than a handful of minutes, given the hype around the project. But that would be my order of operations.
And just on that point, actually, if you are concerned about throwing away a bit of ETH because your transaction reverts, you should probably wait until the last stage. Only if you're really dedicated and you want to get in on the first 10, should you go for that, because yeah, if it does revert, it will actually waste some of your ething gas, and you won't get that back. So unless you're a really big dedicated Rocketpool fan and you want the props of having one of the first mini pools, I'd recommend waiting until it calms down a little bit and it's open to everyone.
Okay, maybe this one might go back to Langers here, which is in relationship to these stages, this risk mitigation effort. What are Rocket Pool's contingency plans in the event of an anomaly of flight, as they would say in rocketeering, or an exploit?
Yes, that's right. So we've got like an incident management plan in place that kind of covers, that has procedures for incident discovery, escalation, containment, which is really important, resolving the actual incident, and then post-incident steps and that sort of thing. We've also put together kind of a communication plan for that whole kind of process. So we've got kind of templates and when to let people know of things, so that we kind of keep the community informed all the way through the process. So at every step of the way, we're kind of making sure that the community and the ecosystem at large is aware of what's going on, kind of as we get more and more information. But the important part there is that we've put together some containment controls which enable us to kind of lock down certain things, and gone through some kind of risk analysis and that sort of thing to make sure that we're kind of prepared. We're obviously, you know, hoping for the best, but we're prepared for the worst, just for that. Okay.
And your confidence level right now is the team?
Yeah, very confident.
Pretty good here. Okay.
Yeah. So I think going through that process of you know, putting the plan together, doing the risk analysis has made us a lot more confident. Doing the Pareto testnet has been a very good experience, because the whole team are now fully kind of on board with how everything works and what we should expect. The telemetry is excellent that we've got in place to kind of monitor how things are going. We've kind of put some proactive kind of alerting and that sort of thing in place as well. So yeah, we're very confident in terms of that.
Okay. And then one last question here in this timed section here is, this one actually comes up a lot in the Discord. If a node operator doesn't claim their RPL rewards at you know, in a claim period, what will happen to them?
So any unclaimed rewards during a reward period will roll over into the next period. So you will lose them if you don't claim during that period. They will be donated and socialized to the next round of rewards.
That sounded like two different things to me. They will roll over, and they will
roll over into the pool to be distributed to the other holders in the next round. You will lose them, yes, to be very clear.
But what your CLI actually auto claims, unless you turn it off, your CLI actually auto claims. So it will automatically do that for you anyway.
Yeah, and I'll throw out there as well, there is a way to set a gas threshold for that auto claim. So if gas prices are above a certain amount, it will not auto claim until they go below that, and then it'll try to do it. So if you set the auto claim is something reasonable, like 40, for example, you would have to go an entire month without ever seeing gas prices below 40 for that claim to not work, which is tragic if that happens. Yeah.
All right, and I think that we are planning to do the POAP next. Do I understand that correctly?
Yep, that sounds about right.
Awesome.
So for today's POAP, those watching on the live stream, you'll see a POAP QR code. Go ahead and scan that, and it will be automatically deposited into your POAP wallet. If for some reason the QR code does not work, you can manually claim that at poap.website/rocketpoolama. That direct link is on the screen as well. Just a little bit of a note here. I'm actually very excited to announce that this will probably be the last time in which we distribute the POAPs in this manner. POAP has just deployed a new claim process that is native in their app that I think we will be adopting going forward. So make sure that you sneak this one in before we change up the claim process going forward. And just as a quick refresher, this is the only POAP for this session, but this is a series of 8 leading up to many milestones and ultimately for the Rocket Pool mainnet launch happening next Wednesday. What's going to happen is as we close up the rest of these POAPs and we release all 8 of them, we'll be distributing an exclusive limited mint Rocket Pool NFT poster. And we'll be distributing that via POAP.fun raffle. The more of these POAPs in the series of 8 that you have, the higher your opportunity to get one of those mintings. All of that information in detail can be found in the link in the video description, along with all of Rocket Pool's information, their Discord, their GitHub repo, their Twitter account, and anything else that you like to immerse yourself for those uninitiated. If you have more questions maybe that weren't answered during this session, you're bound to find them on their website and through their Discord.
Thank you very much, Michael. I want to take one quick segue while we're talking about POAP and this transition from POAP.website to claiming with the app. We have Patricio Werthalter with us, who I guess the right word is he's an EthStaker alumni because he is moving on full-time to work on POAP. But I just want to introduce you and say hello. Patricio is also recognized as one of the earliest funders for Rocket Pool. So we're glad you're here. Do you have anything on your mind tonight?
It feels unreal that we are here, but it also feels quite good. So very happy to be here. And I didn't get how to get the POAP tonight.
If Patricio doesn't get a POAP, then I don't know what the world is coming to. So it is at POAP.website/RocketPoolAMA.
Correct.
That's where I claimed mine.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Patricio, for being here. And I think, yep, everybody should have the POAP link. It's on the QR code. Also, as Michael said, POAP.website/RocketPoolAMA, all one word. And now back to, I believe we're going to Ken or Boodle, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think so. Sorry to anyone who had a question about present that didn't get asked. We just got so many questions, and there's loads of questions having to do with the exciting future of Rocket Pool as well. So we're gonna move on to the future. And the first question has to do with moving the RPL token onto a layer 2 where we can hopefully do trades a bit cheaper. There's a very small, I don't know how big the pool is anymore, might be gone, but there was a little bit of RPL on Loopring at one point. But I think more of the interest from the community is around Arbitrum and Optimism, and I think that those are still whitelisting tokens. So maybe I think Langer's commented on this on the Discord at one point. Is there a plan to push for the new RPL token to be whitelisted for Arbitrum?
Yes. So we've kind of looked into that. We were just making sure that we didn't need like the custom bridging stuff, and we can just go with the normal ERC20. So yes, there are plans to bridge to Arbitrum and other L2s. So particularly RETH, we're going to be pushing to kind of spread that access to as many places as possible. But RPO as well. We can't do that until all the contracts are released and pretty much we're launched. So we have to wait until we do that before we can actually do that. But yes, the plan is to kind of go far and wide in terms of on DeFi protocols. Integration with DeFi protocols is essentially our next thing that we're going to be working on. Well, actually integration with everything, to be honest. Wallets, DeFi protocols. We have a very big list of integration things that we're going to be doing. We're also going to be working on the merge as well.
Great, thank you. The second question about the future is again about the RPL token, and I know a lot of prospective node operators are interested in the rewards that we'll get on these RPL tokens, but in order to get any rewards, you have to actually participate and you have to come up with 16 ETH, which isn't really a small amount of money. So the question is having to do with whether there'll be any pooled approach for the RPL collateral, as in will people be able to stake passively their RPL tokens if they're not actually running a node?
I can probably field this one. So we originally had an idea for something that was kind of would resemble an overflow pool. So in the event of any kind of mass slashing, if there was enough RPL, it could be kind of optioned off to cover that drastic loss. It would then come from this overflow / insurance pool, which was regular RPL holders. They could contribute to this pool, and then they might earn some portion of the inflation for doing so. Going forward, I don't think we're going to be implementing that, just because the way I see it is it would be used in such a rare amount of times. It would be diverting, like value away from the real actors in the network, which are the node operators. These are the guys contributing, resources, time, and everything to the network to be basically to drive the protocol. So you would have to take some inflation away from them, kind of direct it to this overflow pool where your passive RPL holders could deposit RPL to be used in the event of an emergency. I just can't see how that would be beneficial for the protocol long term. I mean, it would be good for the RPL holders who would be willing to do this, but we really need to consider the main actors in the protocol, which are the node operators and the people staking for RE. Diverting funds away from them for something that would rarely ever be used just seems like not a very good value proposition from a protocol perspective.
Yeah, and the
So
pool
one way that
go ahead, yeah.
Okay, so one way that RPL holders could kind of contribute to, I guess, the to earn extra rewards from that is, for example, with lending markets. So if the lending markets that kind of lending to node operators is another way for it to do it. There are a couple of advantages, particularly for node operators, but also for RPL holders in that sense. So we also have to kind of, I guess, draw a line of where Rocket Pool is going to kind of have their concern, and where we're going to let other actors in the ecosystem kind of play a role as well. So yeah, lending markets may be one way for that to happen.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I know that lots of folks in the community have talked about that being something that will get put into place. And the next question actually kind of builds on that. And Langers, what you were saying earlier about integrations with other DeFi protocols. Is there anything that you all can share? I know some of this is kind of happening behind the scenes and you don't want to give away too much, but are there any kind of collaborations with other projects and protocols that you are able to share at this point?
To be honest, it's quite early days at the moment. The launch is all consuming, but we and also to integrate with DeFi protocols, we kind of need to build up a certain amount of legitimacy. So we need to be live, and we need to be live. We need to be running. We need to have a certain amount of kind of TVL to kind of have that weight behind us. So that's one thing that is going to influence that. We have a long list of people that we will be approaching post launch, but it's going to take time to kind of lock those in. I think we're going to cover off we're going to be working on those, but we're going to be working on those in parallel. So things like, MakerDAO collateral lending markets are one kind of one aspect. There are other kind of DeFi protocols as well, but we're going to probably pick the low hanging fruit. They're the ones that will actually happen quicker. So things like wallets, things like L2 and that sort of thing. They're the things that will happen quicker than some of the other DeFi protocols, but we are going to be working on those kind of in parallel.
Great, yeah, that's exciting. The next question is maybe something that Joe could answer again about OXO2. I think this has mostly been dropped, but maybe you can just share if there's any updates or what's happening with OXO2.
Okay. So I mentioned earlier that what essentially came out of OXO2 was our research repository, where we talk about the ways we plan on interacting with a post-merge world, how we're going to incentivize people to play fairly, how we're going to enforce that, and that kind of thing. And then doing some like technical analysis on those mechanisms to make sure that they are rewarding enough and fair enough, essentially, to ensure that they'll be successful. So that research repository has been pretty successful since it started. It's definitely spurred a lot of community discussion. We have been in talks with a couple of partners out there with respect to how to actually implement some of the ideas in there and how to bring them together. But for the most part, now that we've put it out there, we've been primarily focusing on getting to mainnet safely. And then once mainnet looks good for a little bit, then we can start to work on some of that implementation stuff. A lot of it is really dependent on what the merge looks like. And it seems like it is, I don't want to say locked down, but it seems like we have a pretty good idea of what it's looking like. So moving forward after the launch, we'll definitely start tackling that and bringing it back to the forefront and preparing for the next version of Rocketpool, which has that.
Really, we had to just ensure we didn't code ourselves into a corner in that, because we don't know exactly what's going to happen. So we had to sort of prepare and give ourselves the maximum flexibility in order to handle it when it happens. So we've actually built into the contracts a way to potentially handle that if the time comes. And thanks to our node operators now having the ability to choose whether they upgrade mini pools or not, we did have to actually include this functionality in now before launch, because if we did rely on an upgrade, we're not certain that every node operator would have upgraded. So we did include some functionality in there that will help us in the future. So really, it was just about not coding ourselves into a corner and then not being able to adapt to the unknown, essentially.
Okay. The next question has to do with expanding the dev team further. We saw a lot of awesome contribution, or a lot of awesome new members coming in a few months ago to expand out to what we have now. Earlier, it was kind of just Dave and Jake coding away. So do we see growth coming in the next few months or years?
Yeah, like I'm definitely open to expanding the team if we do need to. Currently, we're meeting kind of our dev demand pretty well. Like we wear a lot of different hats. It's a really good thing about our team is we are very multifaceted in each kind of skill set. So I myself, for instance, can do smart contracts, bit of web dev, business dev, a bunch of other things. Kane can do smart contracts, smart node software, website stuff as well. So things like that. Like we do have a lot of different kind of skill sets in the current team, but expanding is definitely something I'm open to. So maybe if you feel like you'd be a good addition to the Rocketpool team in the future, yeah, by all means, send me a DM. Like I said, I'm very pragmatic. If I think you'd be a good fit and you could possibly contribute in the future, then yeah, I would definitely have a chat to you.
I think Joe Klappis was a really excellent example of that. Joe kind of came into the community and just started plugging away, and then the next day he was an employee. Like that was a very interesting unfolding of events.
Yeah, I definitely like going to our community for most things. I think especially hiring from within the community is very important, just because a lot of the people that we have a hugely diverse community, and our Discord is absolutely getting massive. Like it's like it from what it used to be a couple of years ago. It was just like you said, it was just a couple of devs in there and the regular crew. And now it's so big. So
now we have a million POAP farmers. It's
yeah, we do. Yeah, like like the trading channel was originally a channel that I created a while ago now to basically contain price talk. I mean, most Discords at the time were just straight up banning price talk, but I didn't really feel that was the right way to kind of handle it. So I just created their own little corner and funneled all the price talk into there. And now that channel is just insanely popular. So yeah, and you know, it's good for a laugh too. If you pop your head in there, you've been doing dev work for all day, it's good to stick your head in there and see what's going on. Do the occasional little bit of trolling in there. That's always a bit of fun too. But yeah, so yeah, like I said, like community is absolutely going gangbusters for us at the moment. We're hugely appreciative of that. And like you said about Joe, yeah, he just stepped up to the role, started contributing. All our stuff is open source. So if you do feel like you know, perhaps working for Rockpool in the future might be a good thing for you, yeah, jump into our repos, start cloning away, do a few PRs, and that's generally a good way to get yourself noticed pretty quick.
Awesome. The next question is another about Layer 2, and this one is about claims. So do we think that it will be possible that sometime in the future, node operators will be able to actually make their claim on Layer 2 so that they're not paying a lot of ETH in gas every month to do that claim?
So it is something that we've looked at. We don't have like a full solution for that yet. Again, because launch is all consuming. But it is something that we've looked at, and it is something that we will be following up on post-launch as well. So yeah, we have a few ideas about how it can work, but we need to kind of solidify that into actual solution.
Great. This one, I might just, that is similar to a previous question. So this is going to be another Langer's question about media. Have you been talking to many folks about kind of spreading the word of Rocket Pool? What are some of the media avenues that you'll be hitting?
So I don't want to give specifics because just in case some things don't work out, but we are talking to most of the crypto media. We've got kind of, we're reaching out to them all the time. So post-launch, there is essentially our aim for the next quarter is to get Rocket Pool to be ubiquitous. And that obviously is going to take a fair amount of kind of media presence. So we are talking to lots of different media kind of outlets, I guess you call them. And we're also putting together things like content strategies, press kits, and all that sort of boring stuff. But yeah, so that we can kind of get Rocket Pool out there as in as many different places as possible, and also to promote kind of more node operators to come in and that sort of thing as well.
This is the last, unfortunately, again, we're kind of running out of time and there's so many questions about the future of Rocket Pool. People are obviously excited, but this one is fun. What does the highest peak of Rocket Pool success look like in your mind? Where are we going?
High success, yeah, obviously huge adoption far and wide. The spreading of nodes away from centralized entities to a more kind of diverse membership. Yeah, client diversity on top of that. We are kind of pushing for that for Rocket Pool's launch to essentially help with some of the smaller clients gaining some more market share. So in the event of any issue with Prism, it doesn't affect the network too badly because we do have extra clients, which are all brilliant. I mean, I use Lighthouse, Nimbus, and all those guys, and all their clients work fantastic. So yeah, that's probably would be one of the main things for me would be obviously spreading out. Taking away from the centralized entity to make things more decentralized and healthy for the network, and also improving client diversity. And also R8 being, ubiquitous, as Langus was saying, in the ecosystem. So it'll be the first decentralized liquid staking token available. So we do hope it does get adopted far and wide as well. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for all those questions there. We did have one last small section that David, you had mentioned, right, already of the trading channel, right? I don't know what the future and the destiny for Rocket Pool will be next week. I guess we're all going to see and be part of it. Maybe the Wikipedia article will say that Rocket Pool was the first decentralized liquid staking platform on the Ethereum blockchain. Or maybe it will say Rocket Pool was first to make it on Rect on the first day. I don't know. But the one thing I do know that it will have on there is a mention to the trading channel. You guys have already created, I think, one of the most interesting and unique conversations on Discord that exists in the crypto space. And there's a couple of questions we wanted to ask you. For the team in general, are there any, how has trading surprised you, both the good and the bad?
Yeah,
I can.
No, you want to go, Langan? So I can go.
I'll do a quick one.
Okay.
So trading. I think recently with the ODAO speculation, that was amazing. The ingenuity for how they managed to track down ODAO members, kind of doing forensic accounting and that sort of thing, going through the roles in Discord. We managed to troll them a little bit, but yeah, it was the ingenuity and enthusiasm in the trading channel is amazing. Their memes are fantastic and scary sometimes. But sorry, Dave.
Yeah, like I said earlier, it was really just created to kind of allow price talk, but kind of have it in one area. And yeah, it's just a reality of crypto. Like, people are going to talk about prices. So the fact that it's grown into it's more of a vibrant community channel now than it is just dedicated about price talk anymore. So obviously you get your meme, your POAPs, pretty much an array of different topics that come up daily, which aren't trading related. So it's really kind of grown outside of that role into something else now, which I love, because I've got a dozen different laundry list things to do every day. So I generally don't get to stick my head in there that often, but when I do, you get some pretty funny conversations happening in there. So yeah, it is endlessly entertaining for the team having that channel there as well. And we are very thankful for the kind of content and enthusiasm that is put out through that channel. So yeah, we're definitely going to obviously keep it around, and we hope it just keeps growing the way it's been growing. It's been fantastic.
I got something to throw out.
I love that it has so little to do with trading anymore. I love that. Like, I live there and I don't trade. Like, it's just, sorry, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I live there as well. It's probably a consequence of my time zone. I am in there quite frequently. I'm in there right now talking to them as I'm doing this. The thing that impresses me the most about it, real quick, is how it's no longer the trading channel. It's really the general channel for people that no longer have a lot of questions about Rocket Pool. Like, they know what they're talking about, their experience. They are the kind of people that can answer questions for other newcomers, and they're just bored and need somewhere to hang out. And so you will see there's a lot of kind of casual conversation that goes in there, but when the time comes and there's a very serious decision that needs to be made, those guys step up. They really do. Like, the stuff with OXO2 and the MEV relationship, a lot of that came out of trading. Dealing with non-upgradable mini pools and preventing the Oracle DAO from being able to rug pull, that came out of trading. Like, when there is a major discussion about something within the protocol that needs to go down, they absolutely step up and contribute meaningfully and usefully. It's not just all memes and stuff. So I think it's really like sort of a crystallization of the community, if you will. I love that.
Yeah, I will being an active member on the Discord there, I will certainly say that, and I will just add that there are some of the most intelligent people that actually hang out in that channel on anything in the crypto space, and I have learned so much just from listening to the conversations and seeing what other projects and initiatives that they're in, and everybody takes the time to explain it, that you can actually learn from it quite a bit. Another question that come up is, you kind of mentioned this, has it become semi autonomous in there, right? Is it different than Rocket Pool, or is it Rocket Pool?
Actually, this is something that I've been thinking about quite a bit. And I think it's one of the things that makes Rocket Pool very strong. We have a very strong community focus. So I think trading is a little bit semi-autonomous, and they actually push a lot of things, which is really good. I think what would be fantastic is if we can structure that a little bit. But apart from that, I love what the kind of trading channel we're doing, and the kind of, yeah, there's a lot of very intelligent people in there. There's a lot of people who are enthusiastic and want to be involved. So yeah, it would be really good to be able to kind of structure that in a way that kind of yeah, makes it go in the right direction. Or yeah, shepherds in the right direction. That would be good.
Let me just throw out there real quick. I need to give a shout out to one of the unsung heroes of Rocket Pool, which is Kron, our main moderator in Discord. You guys don't understand how much he has to do to keep this place clean and safe from all of the spammers and scammers and farmers and people out there trying to take advantage of you. I know Kron tends to hide in the shadows, but he is working nonstop to keep this place as clean and successful as it is. So major props to Kron for that.
Yeah, I echo that to Kron. One last question on this section here. We're being told it's time, and Joe, this one goes to you. What does RTP stand for in your Discord name?
I don't know if I should answer this or not. It's been so I will say this: one person out of the entirety of the Discord has been able to solve the mystery of that. It is an obscure C++ reference in one of my favorite patterns to use. So if anyone is familiar with C++ and you want to learn about some of the weird esoterica there, I encourage you to go to Wikipedia and look up the curiously recurring template pattern. That's all I will say.
I knew it had to be something like that.
Sorry, it's my turn to close, but I'm in trading, so my apologies. Hey everyone. So I sincerely want to thank everyone from Rocket Pool for coming tonight, all the EthStakers for your help, trading for showing up in force and doing the thing that trading is good at. Even though we have Ken and Ben here tonight, I've never called you Ben. But I was just reading names. Ken and Boodle, and technically Joe and Gray Wizard and I are trading people as well. But it's a great group. I'm really delighted to, regardless of the protocol, I enjoy the people. I enjoy being with all of you guys. I trust all of you, and I appreciate your commitment to these high ideals of decentralization for Ethereum. So thanks for coming out tonight. I think I might see some of you again in about a week, October 6th. Anybody have plans? And to be completely fair, I don't know how it's going to unfold. I don't know if all of the Rocket Pool team will be able to join us, because it's obviously an extremely stressful event. Even if it goes well, it's an extremely stressful event. And so whether or not you guys are able to join us, I wish you the best. We're going to be here. We're going to be watching. We're going to be rooting for success. Just because Rocket Pool is, I believe, one of the best things to happen in Ethereum in a long time, and I'm happy to be on this journey with you guys. I'm really privileged. So, thanks.
Yeah, no, massive thank you for those kind words too, Super Fizz. Yeah, we are obviously going to be exceptionally busy on the 6th. So I can't promise that any of us will be able to drop by, but hopefully one or two of us might be able to, show our heads on the day. It's going to be immensely busy. It has been a long journey. We do obviously hope our launch will go smoothly, and it can benefit the ecosystem at large. Smallly at first, and hopefully over the next few months, increasing in its influence on client diversity and kind of decentralization of the nodes in the network. So that has been the goal since day one, still is. So we are extremely excited to see that through. So massive thanks to the EthStakers community for helping organize this. Massive thanks to our community. Shout out to the training channel, because those guys do help us out a lot too. And a massive shout out to Reddit as well. We have a lot of Reddit users that comment on our posts a fair amount. So we don't always get enough time to get back to Reddit because we're pretty busy, but huge thanks to that too. And just our general Discord community at large, all the channels that we have, from smart contracts, smart nodes, general, beta chat, testnet chat, all those things. Everyone is extremely helpful, and that's one of the things I'm also proud of the most is just the kind of community that's evolved around rocket pools, because we always have been community orientated, but to see that kind of manifest itself in a really positive, helpful community over the last few years is just fantastic.
All right, Dave, best wishes, good luck. We're going to be watching with bated breath. I've blocked out 48 hours to do nothing but participate and watch the launch. So I know you'll be busy, but we'll be here thinking about you. So and the rest of the team. I honestly, I don't need to see you guys because I know what you're going to be doing. But we're going to be celebrating and watching and stalking you secretly from the shadows. So best wishes. Good night, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.